AI, artificial intelligence. A lot of people talk about it from different perspectives. I'm going to give you guys my perspective as an artist. So I do graphic design, and also you guys can see on this channel I do digital art, and I also do traditional art. But in this channel, I show you guys a lot of my digital art that I create using Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. And then I use Adobe Premiere for backgrounds. But you guys came here to hear about, from an artist perspective, my experience with AI. Now, as far as AI is going on, it's definitely growing. I remember when it started with Mid-Journey and all these other platforms where people was experimenting using AI. I remember that time where so many artists was voicing their opinions, right? Definitely helped them out in the algorithm about their opinion towards AI. And a lot of people was afraid. I'm not gonna lie, I was afraid as well, because I am in the creative department and I've been doing graphic design for almost 10 years now. And I looked at AI like, oh my God, is it going to, take away my job? And then how am I going to make a living? Because obviously, when you go into the creative department in the entertainment world, that's where a lot of businesses, of course, will cut corners and try to find the cheapest possibility to no longer utilize a human being to pay them salary. So it really hit close to home with me when one of my managers in my job was telling me to teach myself, like, you should go and learn in AI tools and all this stuff. Of course he'll say that because I'm in a salary, so if I learn the tools, it's not as if my salary is gonna bump up by 30,000 or 40,000, so everything is in-house. So it's like it's more of a benefit for him than a real benefit for me. I mean, of course I could look at it like a benefit for me if I branch out of the job, but in the end of the day, it's like I personally, and maybe I should make it a separate video, but I don't care. I guess I'll just talk about it right now. I'm personally burned out when it comes down to trying to learn everything, because graphic design is very broad, right? And nowadays, graphic design is not enough. You gotta learn HTML, you gotta do CSS, you gotta do this, you gotta do animations, it's like, it gets to the point where it's like you're having all of these skills, but each of these skills is a different job title. So by having the skills, this is why if you go online and put graphic design on LinkedIn, right? Is it LinkedIn? I've the job portals out there. Indeed, I meant to say Indeed, not LinkedIn. Even LinkedIn or Indeed, regardless, you will see something, instead of saying graphic designer, they'll say visual designer. And by them putting visual designer, that's their way of making shortcuts and having multiple jobs equal that one title, which is a visual designer. And visual designers is the same salary as a graphic designer, but should just have to do more work because there's multiple job titles and skills in that one job. So along with that, now you have AI. So when my manager was telling me you should learn about the AI tools and all this stuff, I know most people will be like, oh, that's good to learn skills, but it gets to the point where it's like less is more. Like let me give you a quick example with a doctor that specializes in neurology, right? Like dealing with the brain or whatever, right? Or the nerves. Would that doctor learn to become a surgeon? Or would that doctor learn how to become a chiropractor? Or would that doctor learn how to deal with things as being an EMS? No, they all structure. Or better yet, would that doctor learn how to be a dentist, and dental surgeries? No, they all specialize in their own pocket. But graphic design is like, well, since you specialize in being a dentist, you should also specialize in being a surgeon, and not just in terms of mandatory procedures, but also cosmetic procedures. If people want to get veneers and people want to get BBLs, like that's absurd. So that's how I look at it in terms of graphic design. And on top of that, you have AI. So I wanted to make that to a separate, but I'm at the point now, I'm just tired, honestly. I don't really care about editing content. I just put it out. I just shoot from the hip. I have a topic and I just talk about it. So let's continue with the whole AI situation. So I remember he talked about that, and I remember at that time I was using Midjourney, right? And that was underneath what is that thing called? Not StreamYards. What is it called? Discord. There we go. I had to, because I have Discord. I don't even use it, but I had to go there. So yeah, you have to use Discord and have the link and be a part of that group, and then you could just keep playing with the Midjourney. And I thought it was as sophisticated as I thought it would be, but turns out it's not. I took a few selfies, like different pictures I took with my camera, and I just threw it in there to see what type of outcome I'll get from it. And every single time through the AI, it just looks wonky. The eyes look weird, the hands look weird, the face looks weird. It looks nothing like me. It just looks like a completely different person. A lot of times I look like Mr. T. I was like, whoa, I don't look nothing like Mr. T. Or look like a completely different person. So I was like, okay, this is not as great as I thought. But over time, and that was the time where everybody was like jumping on YouTube's algorithm on artists getting mad at AI. And of course, a lot of it is a bit of virtual signaling for them to get more views. I get it. I mean, everything about YouTube is to get views and gossiping and all that stuff. And I'd rather just talk about my personal journey rather than going through the drama of talking about somebody else. I've been there. I made content like that before. I'm done with that. I'm in a different stage in my life where I don't really want to focus on that. So everybody was really talking about how terrible the AI is and how it's gonna take over jobs. And then when I, was tested it in terms of its practicality, it just wasn't there. It really wasn't there. I could definitely see a little bit of a problem with, because it's really backwards. Honestly, with AI and image generator, it is a sophisticated version of Google Images, right? But it's really backwards, because instead of someone taking hours, right, making artwork, on average, I take about, if I'm doing a lot of artworks you guys see, it could take me a day, a few hours. Or if I'm doing something where it involves two people, it's gonna take me a few days to get it done, like 2 or 3 days, right? The longest, maybe 4 or 5 days. So it really just depends on the amount of content I put onto the image and how long it takes as far as the details, because I gotta trace over my artwork that I sketched out on Adobe Illustrator. So using a pen tool, it can, and then adding more elements to it, since I'm using a pen tool, it can take a longer time. So it really just depends. But anyway, going back to what I was saying, it's backwards because with the AI, you're constantly generating images until eventually you get what you want. And to me, that methodology is completely backwards from designing and creating artwork, because since you spend so many hours of the nuances, the back and forth of it, if you're dealing with a client, it becomes more sincere and it becomes much more of a value because of the amount of labor and amount of detail and ingenuity it took for a human being to make that. Whereas with AI, there is no ingenuity, there's no human, right? So everything is just like a sophisticated version of an image search. Like, oh, this this is not what I wanted as a Google image search. Okay, let me type it in from a different prompt. Okay, let me do another one. Let me do another one. Okay, now I'm keep doing it until you finally get the right one. I don't think it's the same. You can't compare the two. That's what I'm pretty much saying. So one is an artwork developed and created through a human being, right, from beginning to the end. And the other one is just content that's out there that they grab it from the internet, that is through a prompt that just spits out random imagery, and you really can't do too much with it. I mean, it's just flattened, right? So that's dealing with Midjourney, and it's just one of those weird things because it devalues the process, right? Because it's just like, okay, I didn't get what I want. Okay, throw that away. Okay, throw that away. Oh, now we got to use this. Like, no. So, for example, a concept artist, they spend hours, right, making different variations of this character, and that unique character that is not popular mainstream wise, you can't expect the AI to have that information on something that is brand new. Now, as far as, because that's how AI is created, is based upon the popularity of the person or whatever genre. So for example, Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, Hulk, anything with Marvel, anything with popular celebrities, it has a better information on that compared to your new IP. So AI is just not there yet as far as like, okay, I want to make a new character look like this and that. It's just gonna give you some weird generic looking thing instead of something that's more tailor-made, because an artist will give you that tailor-made look compared to AI. So I always look at AI as a complete false comparison. However, there are some artists out there, you know, that they do have stuff that can be replicated through AI, but the little nuances like the hands being off, the eyes being off, clearly you could tell that's AI, right? So later on, I've noticed where, you know, Adobe got the AI integrated, right? So in my job, we have that. And I'm not gonna lie, right? I say that a lot. Well, because it's kind of weird when people say I'm not gonna lie. Does that mean you lie all the time? That you gotta say that before? It's just one of those weird indoctrinated speeches we all say. But AI is very helpful when it comes down to utilizing it as a tool. So it's just another tool, right? That's how I look at it. Just like with Adobe Photoshop, that's a tool, right? It was mainly used for the aspect of photographers and retouching up photos, and then later on artists utilize it to make digital paintings. I utilize it for creating sketches for the works of art that you guys see here, right? And then Illustrator for all that vector art and when it's complete. But with Photoshop, they have the AI tool. So I utilize that for my job because there are aspects where, let's say the raw photograph is limited towards the space. So let's say the space is, for example, the raw photograph is a square canvas, right? And let's say we need this to be on a website banner, which is much more horizontal than a square. So it's more like a rectangular canvas. So with the AI tool, you can open up the canvas, right? You can extend the canvas to be a rectangle, even though the raw photograph is a square. So obviously everything else there's no content there, right? It's empty. And so you could use a marquee tool or just a regular selection tool, and then from there you can just hit the AI will pop up and you can put content on where, and then the AI will fill out the rest of the space to turn it from a raw square shape into a wide rectangular shape with this AI information on it. And a lot of times it's pretty remarkable. I'm like, how is it able to do that? Because before AI, I literally had to use tricks with Photoshop of like stretching out the raw canvas and then blurring it and then like adding a drop shadow to hide. It's almost like women with like a lot of makeup, you just hiding the flaws, right? So that's literally what I was doing design wise, and then adding the typography on top of it, so now you are unable to see the problem, right? But now with AI, it literally just makes it clean and it just saves so much time. So I just create the content aware, and then bam, like wow, like I didn't even need to do a lot of Photoshop, and it just did it for me. So there's definitely, you know, benefits to using AI when you're already making something from scratch and you just need that extra help to help you as far as like productivity. So I definitely see the value in that. But of course, like many artists like me who are able to just be like, hey, like I don't respect anyone who calls themselves artists but they don't know how to draw, or they don't know how to design, and they're relying on the tools and they're saying that they're artists. Like that's a slap in a lot of artists' face. That's like saying, hey, I'm an amazing singer, but then guess what? I can't sing. I just have all of these mechanics and AI voices to make my voice sound amazing, but in reality, if you want me to sing in real life, I just can't. But yet I call myself a singer. So it's the same thing. It's like it's not authentic, right? However, we also have to I look at it like this as well, that people don't care. I'm gonna be honest. People just want content and they don't really care how it's really made. And in my job, you know, it really helps with AI as far as just making things a lot faster, especially when you're dealing with aspect ratios where they are extremely obscured, where you're like, okay, there's no way a raw photograph could fit to this type of aspect ratio size. So AI is able to just fill that in, and it just takes a few seconds, you know. So as a tool, it is magnificent, and I think that's a good hybrid to use it as a tool. But obviously, you gotta have to know and have the development of skills in order to get there, right? But in my opinion, it's making it more catered towards the casuals, right? The casuals who are intimidated by learning a skill set. They rather just use it casually. Same thing with Instagram. Like it's easier to just have all these filters there, take a picture with your phone, as opposed to getting yourself an actual digital camera. And even before digital cameras, you had back in the days where you had to have film, so you had to go to a third party to process the film. So there are things in life where it's always that push and pull. It's like you want things to be easy, but then when things get way too easy, people don't respect it and they wish it wasn't that easy. You know, it's like that weird conundrum that human beings deal with. Like we want things to be easy, we complain about it, but then when we get it, we're like, oh man, like we're spoiled, and we don't want people to be spoiled because we value hard work. But then when you take that away, it's like, dang it, I wish it was easy. You know, we're always going through that constant back and forth. But to be fair, you know, with my experience using AI, I only use Photoshop, the latest one, where you can select it and the content aware be automatically like filled in through beyond the raw image. Amazing. I use it all the time. I never used the, what is it called, ChatGPT. I never used I used Midjourney, like I said before, as a practice, but I never use none of the softwares like ChatGPT or like the ones where you can talk like me talking right here. Then I could just use the AIs with the better pronouncing voice to cover it up. Like I just don't. I'd rather just be authentic. And I think in this day and age, people are starting to connect towards real people as opposed to everything being inauthentic. Yeah, so yeah, my overall experience with AI is not bad. Do I believe that AI is going to take over people's jobs? Yeah, it will. That's inevitable. I mean, if you really look at jobs like back then with, let's say, apparel, how people had to make everything from scratch, but then over time, you have machines. You still have people making it, but then they cut corners by getting rid of others because the machines are able to just make all of this stuff. You still need people to operate the machine, but by having a machine, you cut away so many other people. Um, that's just economics, and that's just capitalism, unfortunately. Uh, Certain things in life isn't replaceable, and I always say that things like carpentry, plumbing, stuff where someone has to hands-on go in there and fix your like physical troubleshooting, right? They gotta physically fix your pipes and all that stuff. That will never be obsolete because that's not entertainment, right? Jobs like that will always be on demand. Entertainment always changes. You know, entertainment and creativity is one of those gray areas where a lot of businesses unfortunately don't respect that realm, in my opinion. So that always is going to fluctuate. I mean, I even will attest to my perspective of seeing so many jobs where, you know, you could look up jobs right now of graphic design, even illustration, like art. You know, the only ones that are more sustainable that will never fully get out of style is if you're an art teacher, art professor. You know? But as far as like the industry is concerned, it's always going to keep changing, you know, always. So one thing may be relevant now, but then over time it's not. And if it's not, then the salary request is going to go down, you know. And you can see yourself with graphic design. They want you to do 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 different jobs in one, and they only going to pay you $40K. Even developers too, even though that's not creative, but they want you to do so much and pay so little because they don't respect that position, and it's just so oversaturated as well. And it's sad because now you have AI on top of that, and they want you to know how to use, like, are you a prompter? Like, what is that? You know, are you really good at prompting? No. Okay, we can't hire you because we need you to be fast at prompting. So they got prompters out there who understand keywords to get the right imagery, and they declare themselves artists. No, you're a good prompter. You know, there's nothing creative about being a prompter. However, you know, supply and demand, and unfortunately, there's too many designers out there who are desperate for those, be like, what is it called, Fiverr? They literally are just charging people $5 or $2 just to give you a logo. So if many people are not respecting themselves, then shouldn't be surprised with the outcome of a lot of companies are like, we want you to be a creative visual artist, which is like, what? Yeah, no animations, You got to be good at animations, you got to be good at graphic design, you got to be good at HTML, CSS, and you got to be a prompter. And we will pay you a whopping $30,000 a year. Like, yeah. It makes you want to reconsider things. And it's not just design, also concept artists too. Especially now with AI, it's gonna get more demanding. They may just tell you, "Hey, we need you to come up with this concept that clearly should take you a few days or hours to make, but we need it done within the hour." So now your work is gonna look like crap. And imagine if you're like, "Oh man, so now I'm gonna indirectly cut corners and use AI. Like maybe I'll make like a terrible draft of something and have AI clean it up and just give it to the client." Like it's becoming extremely of a microwave industry, and with AI is honestly gonna get worse. Is it going to fully replace jobs all over? I would say eventually, but there are certain jobs, like I said before, where it's not going to. And now this is the time where, I'll speak for myself too, where it's not about learning more skills. For me, it's about being more human, being more transparent, because people will value you as a character rather than rather than your skill set. So that's where I'm at. I want people to respect me as a person, not so much of what can you do for me, what other skills you need. So that's that.